Dr. M.G.R. Educational and Research Institute, University, Madurai, Chennai. Dr. M.G.R. Educational and Research Institute, University, Madurai, Chennai.
I would like to start with the words of Dr. A.B.J. Abdul Kalam. Learning gives creativity, creativity leads to thinking, thinking provides knowledge, and knowledge makes you great. Department of Physics, Dr. M.G.R. Educational and Research Institute, Adayalampattu, Phase 2 campus, welcomes you all dignitaries, faculties, students, participants from various institutions for attending this one-day national level webinar on ceramic materials in biomedical field, a prospective view. Well, myself, Dr. S. Chellaman, Professor, Department of Physics, will be your host for the day. I am very happy to extend a warm welcome to our guest of honor and speaker for the day, Dr. Vijayalakshmi Sanyal, Assistant Professor in Physics through Govindasamy Government Arts College, Tindivanam, Tamilnadu. And also would like to welcome our Joint Registrar, Dr. S. Ramalingam, Dean Dr. S. Manivannan, Deputy Dean Dr. B. N. Rajavarman, Head of the Department of Physics, Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, Faculties in Department of Physics, Dr. E. Kavita, Mrs. J. P. Sujitra, Dr. P. Divya, Dr. G. R. Subhashri, Admin in charge, Ms. R. Akshaya. This session will give an idea of outstanding biological properties of ceramics in dental and medical field. This session is aimed to understand the challenges in using these materials and to learn how their features are utilized in various fields. I request Mrs. J. P. Sujitra, Assistant Professor, Department of Physics, to deliver the welcome address.
Good evening to one and all present here. I welcome you all to this webinar on ceramic materials in biomedical field, a prospective view. First of all, I would like to extend my gratitude towards our Honorable President, Engineer A.C.S. Arun Kumar, for giving us opportunities to conduct such events in a good manner. I would like to welcome our Vice Chancellor, Dr. S. Githalakshmi, and thank her for her constant support and motivation. I would like to extend a warm welcome to our beloved Chief Guest, Dr. Vijayalakshmi Sanyal, Assistant Professor, Thiru A. Govindasamy, Government Arts College, Tindivanam. Next, I would like to welcome our Joint Registrar, Dr. S. Ramalingam, our Dean, Dr. S. Manivannan, and our Deputy Dean, Dr. V. N. Rajavarman. I would like to welcome Dr. Radhakrishnan, Head Department of Physics, and our organizing committee. Without support and cooperation, this webinar would not have been possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam, for your kind words. I request Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, Head of the Department of Physics, to deliver few words of department activities.
Thank you, Madam. Good evening to all. It is a pleasure in presenting a brief account of our university and Department of Physics coming under Humanities and Science to all for the viewers. As a forerunner in education, Dr. A.C. Shanmugam, the founder chancellor of our institution, initiated Tirumadi Kannammal Education Trust in 1985 and started Thai Mugambiya Polytechnic College, Dr. M.G.R. Engineering College in 1988, and Thai Mugambiya Dental College in the year 1991. Both the colleges acquired deemed university status in 2003 as Dr. M.G.R. Educational and Research Institute. It is proud to mention that Our president, Dr. A.C.S. Arunkumar, is a dynamic young person who is running this institute in a successful manner, under whom we got NBA, NAC, IQAC, ABET, and NIR of accreditation, and we are striving to achieve new heights under his presidency. The Department of Physics came into existence in the year 1988 as a servicing department of engineering technology. In the year 2014, it has become an independent department under the Faculty of Humanities and Science. The undergraduate program BSc Physics was started the same year, and the 2-year postgraduate program MSc Physics was started in the year 2019. We offer courses from degree to doctoral studies. All the courses offered by the department are unique in its own way and are designed to cater to the requirements and needs of the students' community. Objective is to impart quality education to our students with the best available facilities. Motto is developing passion towards the study of physics and continuous improvement of scientific research. The department provides excellent ambience for teaching and learning activities. Almost all the members of the department are PhD holders with rich experience. We are having various courses in addition to physics, that is material science, nanoscience, applied physics, physics with laser technology, physics with computer application, and also same courses in MSc also. Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable words. All participants, kindly note this information. The feedback cum assessment form will be available in the YouTube description box at the end of this session. You are requested to complete and submit the form before today 7 p.m. I request Epitome of Excellence, our source of motivation and encouragement, our Dean, Dr. S. Manivandan, to deliver felicitation address.
Good evening, everyone. Really a great day for again Phase 2 campus. Thanks to the efforts by Dr. Radhakrishnan sir and his team. He has told everything, and of course, I wanted to add a few more points. Most of the staff members of physics department are PhD, have completed PhD. So again, it's a major strength for our humanities and sciences. The publication side comes from the Department of Physics. I wanted to appreciate the department. And of course, coming back to this event, really I'm happy to see our Department of Physics is doing wonderful job for the university, and really I'm happy. Before to that, I wanted to thank our young and dynamic president, engineer A.C.S. Arunkumar sir, for giving wonderful opportunity, wonderful freedom for all of us to conduct this kind of innovative events. I personally feel this is the 3rd or 4th event by the Department of Physics during this semester itself. I'm not considering about either May or June. After the beginning of this semester, this physics department is so instrumental in doing a wonderful job. Really, I wanted to appreciate once again. Of course, I wanted to mention our Vice Chancellor, Dr. S. Vijayalakshmi Madam, for giving wonderful support, wonderful moral support, guidance for conducting so many innovative things like conducting webinar, online events, etc. Before touching my felicitation, I wanted to thank both of them for giving wonderful support for our campus. Of course, this is again webinar organized by Physics Department with the help of our beloved chief guest, Dr. Vijayalakshmi Sanyal, Assistant Professor joining from Tindivanam Government Arts and Science College. Really, we wanted to thank her for accepting our invitation. She is such a wonderful person. Without any simple hesitation, she has accepted our invitation. Thank you, madam, for accepting our invitation and sharing your valuable knowledge to the beloved participants. Of course, in the welcome address, one of my colleagues has missed the participants' role. Because of your participation, I understand 750 registrations have happened, and because of this count only today we could see this kind of program in a successful way. I appreciate the enthusiasm among the participants for showing the interest in learning new things is really appreciable one. And of course, coming back to the department, along with the head of the department, I wanted to point the persons who have involved in doing this webinar in a successful way. Dr. Chellamal Madam, Mrs. Susitra, Dr. Kavita, Dr. Divya, Dr. Subhasri, of course, wonderful technical support by Miss Akshaya. All are doing very good job for the department and also for the university. With these few words, I wish you all a very happy learning. Thanks for joining. Bye.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful words. I request Dr. B. Divya, Assistant Professor, Department of Physics, to introduce our eminent chief guest.
Welcome to National Gather for evening session. It's a time to introduce our today's guest, Dr. Vijayalakshmi Sanyal. She completed her PhD in studies on the properties of co-substituted fluorohydroxyapatite for biomedical applications. She was a co-principal investigation in TNSCST, a science and technology products, Government of Tamilnadu. MSc and 6 BTech students. Vijayalakshmi Sanyal was an inspection commission member in assignment inspection of politics in Perambalur district under the organization of Government of Tamil Nadu. She have nearly published 11 research papers in the reputed journals. Thank you, ma'am. I welcome you once again to this event.
Thank you, madam. All participants kindly note this information. The feedback assessment form will be available in the YouTube description box at the end of this session. You are requested to complete and submit the form before today 7 p.m. Dr. Vijayalakshmi madam, you are a real inspiration for any young academicians. We are honored by your presence on this occasion, ma'am. We hope everyone enjoy with satisfaction. Once again, I welcome our chief guest of honor and speaker for the day, Dr. Vijayalakshmi Sanyal, to proceed with your presentation. Madam, we request you take over the session and share your knowledge.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad to join you all in this national webinar organized by Dr. M.G.R. Educational and Research Institute, deemed to be University Chennai. Now, in this difficult pandemic period, educationists strive hard for broader outreach and share knowledge. I would like to thank the President, Engineer ACS Arun Kumar, Joint Registrar Dr. Ramalingam, Deputy Dean Dr. Rajavarman, and I specifically thank Dr. Dean Dr. S. Manivannan for having trust in me and giving me this wonderful opportunity to be in this afternoon with all of you. Also, I thank Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, Professor and Head of the Physics, and his team. Dr. S. Chellamal, Dr. E. Kavita, Dr. J.P. Suchitra, Dr. Divya, Dr. G.R. Subhasri, and Akshaya, the technical head, who made this event possible and in a smooth way. Now I would like to share my screen. And continue with my topic. Ceramic materials in biomedical field, a prospective view. Once the word ceramic material, it always referred only to the clay and the clay products. But new emerging ceramic materials have tremendously grown and have a very good scope, and it has got a wonderful and a numerous applications. The ceramic materials in the biomedical field focuses on the apatites, which are the best bone substitutes and the dental materials. When you consider the imaging has a huge impact on the medical field. And you can see that appetites, when they are suitably doped or substituted in the appetites, they became a very good contrast agent in the imaging modalities. Both these topics are discussed in the ceramic materials in biomedical field, a prospective view. Now I have arranged the scheme of presentation in this manner, that is, to give a brief introduction about the bioceramics, the need for the ceramics, and then switch over to the apatite and its system, and the material substitutes, and its diversified applications, and conclude the session. Biomaterials. Biomaterial is a material used in the implants or the medical devices intended to interact with biological systems. With prolonged life expectancy, as well as more of demand as such is for the bone substitutes, and there is an increasing demand for this biomaterials. And the fundamental requirements of the biomaterials are the biocompatibility, that is a non-toxic material. Bioresorbable is another property, that is naturally and slowly dissolving. If naturally and slowly, if it dissolves, then what happens? So naturally and slowly it resolves and dissolves, and then it becomes a natural bone. So that is the best property implant should possess. A bio-inert, for certain applications, there is no reaction with the host is needed. So for such application, the material should be a bio-inert. When we consider out of 98 naturally occurring elements, oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, calcium, phosphorus, all these 6 elements, they are occupying something like 99%, and all rest of the elements are just only 1%. All the 6 elements are about 98% in the body. And you can see out of 98 elements, naturally occurring elements, 60 elements at least are present in the body. You can see the carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and the nitrogen. These are the 4 elements, along with the phosphorus and the sulfur. They form the biomolecules on this earth. The most sorted implant material is a metal, just for the mechanical properties. They have a high wear resistance, but the question comes biocompatibility. Biocompatibility, when we see, there is a long-term use, results in metal toxicity, and this is the one which causes infection and the removal of the implant. Even when stainless steel material are used or titanium material are used, you can see that they are all coated with ceramic materials. Only then it is possible to use these materials. So ceramic materials, they play a vast and a key role in the biomedical field. You can see that allergy as such has been caused due to the metal allergy. When you come to the polymer implant partially satisfies the mechanical properties. A low wear resistance is there, but biocompatibility, it is less toxic when compared with that of the metal. But when it is placed in the body, it absorbs the fluid, expands, swells, and due to this, there is a pressure created in the surrounding tissues. And this surrounding tissues gives rise to infection and ultimately an implant failure, and a partial biodegradation takes place. Then coming back to the ceramic materials. The ceramic materials are the key material or the important material because of due to its best biocompatibility. Its chemical as well as a physical similarity due to the human bone, and it has got a best similarity to the human bone, and it has a excellent biological performances. what is this excellent biological performances is slowly become one as that of the natural human body. But the only property which has to be taken care is its mechanical property, and that needs modification. Apart from this, these ceramic implants they can be used as bone cement, that is injectable one, which can be placed inside. You can see here, once it is placed in the body, it just starts regenerating and it becomes hard and it is becoming actual bone itself. They are hydroxyapatite based implants. When you look into the history of ceramics, the ceramic heart begins 26,000 BC with the discovery of this clay. After that, ancient Greek fired that, and the Egypt discovered the glass, and the Rome Empire blew the glass material, and the Chinese came with the first ceramic composite, that is a porcelain. And now the modern ceramic materials are the refractive materials. From then on, the ceramic materials had a continuous evolution. You can see the traditional ceramics, but the advanced ceramics starts with electroceramics, magnetic ceramics, optical, nuclear, and automotive ceramics. It starts with resistors, uh, capacitors, which are used in smartphones, to the outer cover in the space shuttle. Though you cannot have a concise definition for the ceramics, you can have a workable definition, that is, ceramic is an inorganic, non metallic solid prepared by the action of heat and subsequent cooling, in which the bioceramics is the one which is the ceramic material which are used as biomaterials. Why bioceramics? Bioceramics is compatible in nature, it has got a less stress shielding, and like all other materials like autograph or allograft, that is from the human body itself or from an animal body, so no disease transformation as such is taking place in the bioceramic materials. So raw materials, when we look into, it is a plentiful and inexpensive also. So it is plentiful and inexpensive, less trade shielding, as well as the biocompatible in nature. This video just shows us when a metal, when it is coming into contact with the biofluid, then it starts leaching out ions. Whereas when you look into the ceramic material, the leaching out ions as such doesn't take place, that it is a very slow process. So by that, a natural bone by itself gets formed. So that is the major or a key point for a ceramic material. See, bioceramics, when it is classified broadly, either it can be classified as alumina, silicates, phosphates, carbon-based, and other ceramic materials. When you look into the alumina or silicates or carbon-based or other ceramic materials, either they are bio-inert. When it is a bio-inert, you very easily a bacterial growth as such takes place. And when it is bioactive, and if it is lacking adherence, then the bone bonding ability is not there. And when it is biodegradable, then the release of ions as such takes place. And again, when it is in the case of the other ceramics like titanium oxide also gives rise to an adverse effect. Research has given this idea. The calcium phosphate, this is the main topic which we are going to discuss about, that hydroxyapatite falls in the phosphate group. They are so best suited for the bone substitutes because it is structural similarity and the bone forming ability, osteogenic, and it is a regenerative material. We are going to see what is this regenerative, and that the implant material is of the future. A broad classification of this hydroxyapatite is the phosphate minerals. We generally call it as apatites. Depending upon the concentration of the hydroxyl group or the fluorine ions or the chlorine ions, they can be named as hydroxyapatite or fluorapatite and chlorapatite. Apatite is a Greek word which means disease. It is generally mistaken, that is, apatite gems, when they are naturally occur, they are mistaken for gemstones, but they are not gemstones. They are phosphate minerals. Due to the ions which are present, they take different colors, and the natural bone mineral is hydroxyapatite. Bone, which is a basic structure, they provide the movement and the metabolism. When we consider the bone and its composition, hydroxyapatite is 69%. So everybody knows what is the bone's composition and what as such is the role played by the bone in the movement. Or when you take a human body, what is the percentage of bone which is present? So we can otherwise say that our body is made up of a bioceramic, that is hydroxyapatite. Out of 69% of hydroxyapatite, they are all small crystals and it is embedded in the collagen. That is a type 1 collagen, which is about 30%, and a polysaccharide, which is of 1%. And you can see that because of this embedded hydroxyapatite crystals embedded in the collagen matrix, they have an excellent bone load bearing property as well as they are regenerative materials. We'll just see what is meant by this regeneration. When a child is born, slowly the growth takes place. You can see that osteocytes or many osteoblasts, that is formation of bone cells, repeatedly occur in a random way, and thereby the growth in the bone takes place. We can see the growth visibly. Once we are adult, the bone growth stops. But does this regeneration process stops? No, it keeps on continuous. So in a year, when you consider 10% of our bone, they slowly dissolve. That is what is called as resorption. Slowly they again form. So this is a cyclic process which keeps on continuing and continuing. Where when there is a fault or a dysfunction in the bone, this regeneration process is the one which helps us to come back if the rate is wrong. So a old bone is slowly getting digested and then the formation of the new bone. The ceramic material also follows this principle, thereby helping for the bone regeneration. If suppose a trauma takes place or if there is a dysfunction. Looking into the mechanical properties of the bone, the cortical bone is the one which we have to take as a hard bone, where the hardness of this particular bone is about 0.33 gigapascals. When you look into the fracture toughness, it is ranging about 2 to 12. This 2 to 12 is nothing but depending upon the size of the bone. When you consider the femur bone, you can see that the femur bone ranges from 1 to 2 megapascals. So you can say that the cortical bone is ranging from 2 to 12 of this particular range, where the fracture toughness is 2 to 12 megapascals. Then the density of the bone, you consider it is 1.82, and the brittleness index is very, very low, that is 0.027 to 0.167. Lower the brittle index, then the load bearing capacity is also very good. So what is this brittleness index in the sense? It is nothing but the ratio of the fracture toughness to that of the hardness. When you consider the pure hydroxyapatite, which is synthesized in the laboratory, you can see the hardness as 4.2 to 4.5. But when we consider the fracture toughness is only 0.6 to 1. Why is this so? In the sense, the brittleness index is only 5. It has increased to 5.2 to 15.75. So this is the mechanical property which has to be modified, and this ceramic material should be a successful clinical implant. So the task is nothing but the pure hydroxyapatite, which has got an excellent biological property, to be modified for a mechanical property also. In this task, the synthesized hydroxyapatite, that is nothing but a calcium phosphate, which has got an X or OH group, and it is a mineral which is present in the bone. So this can be synthesized by any method, simple method also it can be synthesized. And what is the shortcomings of it in the sense? It is brittle in nature. Just now we saw that brittle nature and slow bone bonding ability. and then it has low antibacterial activity. The biological property which has to be addressed is slow bone bonding ability and low antibacterial activity. When you look into the natural bone, it is not only the calcium phosphate which is present, but it also has got trace metal ions. So the trace metal ions plays a major role. So when you have to design a synthetic material for a bone substitute, then we have to substitute some of these ions in the synthetic material so that the mechanical property as well as the biological property can be enhanced and make it as a real bone. You can say when a bone gets damaged, you can feel the pain. Pain is tremendous. So this bone synthetic material is the one which is the second most common transplanted material. There is an estimation which is saying about 2 million of people every year they suffer some bone defect or bone dysfunction. So this is the area where it has synthetic material. It has got an increasing demand for the synthetic materials. So when you substitute the metal ions in the apatite, then a material can be synthesized which can cater to the needs of the bone substitutes. So hydroxyl group, then it can be replaced with all these ions, that is a fluorine, chlorine or bromine. The phosphate group can be replaced by carbonate or silicates. When you consider, when you see the calcium has got a array of metal, not only these, apart from these, so many ions are every day there is a research which is coming by substituting these ions in the calcium instead of calcium for a particular percentage, thereby improving the apatite's mechanical property as well as the biological property. So now the problem for our research is nothing but the calcium substituted with various metal ions. So if it is only single substitution, then it addresses only one particular problem. So people have gone for multiple ion substitution in apatites. When you just consider co-substitution of metal ions, what is the result which it gives? So you can see the physico-chemical property changes. What is this physico-chemical property going to give is nothing but the particle size reduces and becomes nano. So the nanoapatites or the nanohydroxyapatite as such is produced, which has got a reduction in the grain size, and this improves the mechanical properties. And when the mechanical properties, along with it, some of the ions which are substituted cater to the antibacterial activity and also induces the bone cell formation, which increases. Co-substitution of metal ion improves the mechanical and the biological property, leading to a clinically successful implant material. So this is the key point for the co-substitution of metal ion in the apatites. Based on that, here hydroxyapatite has got multiple ion substitution. One such substitution is partially it is substituted with fluorine ions, and some of the zirconium and cerium ions are substituted. In one particular study, strontium and zinc ions are substituted. In some other study, strontium and cerium are substituted. Now, when you look into all these, out of which the best substituted ions are zirconium and cerium ions, which actually improves the mechanical as well as the biological properties. Now, we are going to go into the fluorohydroxyapatite. So till now we were addressing at a hydroxyapatite, but since we have substituted with the fluorine, now we are going to address it as fluorohydroxyapatite. Zirconium as well as cerium are also co-substituted in this to enhance the properties. Now, what is the role which is played by zirconium and what is the role played by the cerium? When you consider zirconium, it increases the strength as well as the fracture toughness. It induces the bone growth. Whereas when you consider the cerium, zirconium has to be stabilized either by magnesium or by cerium. So you can hear zirconium as stabilized by zirconia. That is, the cerium stabilizes the zirconium. As such, research says that cerium has got the ability and it possesses antibacterial activity. So the cerium is also co-substituted along with zirconium. So it caters the need for both the inducing of the bone growth as well as the antibacterial activity. We are going to see how this is achieved. Now, for preparing synthetically the hydroxyapatite, we have chosen a sol gel method because it is versatile in nature. It has a phase purity, that is a very high purity, and a chemical homogeneity. At molecular level itself, it has got a homogeneity. That is why this method is chosen. And the structure which we are going to obtain is going to be a nanostructure, nanoparticles, the low temperature processing. It can be processed in a low temperature and it is economic as well as cheap. Now, the preparation of the hydroxyapatite by sol gel method. When you consider only hydroxyapatite, I am going to use only calcium and phosphate precursor. If I am going to dope the metal ions also, or that precursor also dope by uh, addition to that to form a sol that is a colloidal in nature. These colloidal particles are in two phases, that is solid and liquid. And this colloidal is suspended in the solution, and slowly you can see that the liquid is drained or removed and it forms the gel. Once the gel is formed, it is a network, and this network is slowly dried and it is powdered. Once a powder is obtained, either it can be used directly as a bone cement, or it can be mixed with distilled water and it can be injected, or it can be compacted to a pressure of 100 megapascals, depending upon the need or depending upon the application, and it can be sintered. Thereby, we can obtain a material which is mechanically stable. How we characterize whatever we have synthetically prepared. The Swansel methodology for physicochemical characterization, we are using XRD method, FTIR, and the morphology is studied by Efficient and Peters. For studying the thermal gravimetric analysis, that is Tga analysis, the non-calcinated powder are taken and subjected to a higher temperature up to 1000 degrees, and they are just analyzed for different phase formation also. The compacted discs, that is, we are taking it in a mold, compacting it to a pressure of 100 megapascals, and then firing it to 1000 degrees centigrade, and then a compact discs are formed. These are the prototype, and with this, we are going to perform the mechanical studies as well as the biological studies. The mechanical studies, the pellets are subjected to micro hardness testing and also towards to the fracture toughness, and then the surface is studied making use of the microstructures. Again, we are using efficient to analyze the surface analysis. In case of the biological studies, so I told you that it should be a biocompatible. That is the first major need for a biological material. So you can say that the cytotoxicity can be done making use of cell viability test. That is, here we are using human osteosarcoma cells, MG63, for studying the cell viability, how the cell multiplies. Cell viability is nothing but, if I am going to keep this pellets and over that human cells are put, you can say that the cell growth as such takes place or multiplication of the cell takes place. If they are biocompatible in nature. If it is a toxic material, then the viability as such goes down. That is, the death of the cells as such takes place. Then the differentiation includes the ALP activity as well as the calcium. The in vitro analysis is done making use of this SBF solution. SBF solution is nothing but simulating body fluid solution. The simulating body fluid solution is prepared in the laboratory, that is, Kukubu standards are prepared, and then the pellets which are compacted, they are soaked in this, and the in vitro appetite forming ability. That is, an appetite has to be formed. We saw one GIF, or that is when metal inserted inside the solution, biological solution, you can see that leaching of ions takes place in the metals. But whereas a ceramic material is inserted, you can see that biodegradation is not that fast. So, the biodegradation as such should not take place, but instead there should be ions which are forming over the disk. This gives a result that the material is a bone bonding material. So it induces the bone bonding. And then comes the antibacterial activity. Any implant material, when it is placed in the body, the first thing which it happens is the rejection. The bacteria colony forms by a biofilm. Even an antibiotic treatment, if suppose if it is given, this biofilm, there is no use for it. So the material, that is the implant material itself, should possess an antibacterial activity. Thereby, it should not allow the bacteria to come and encompass this material, implant material. Now we are going to first start with the powder X-ray diffraction pattern. This powder X-ray diffraction pattern here gives the hydroxyapatite which is synthesized, and all these peaks are pertaining to the HA. When it is substituted with zirconia or cerium, you can see that there is another one more phase which is where a peak which is nothing but another one more phase which is a tetragonal zirconia. This is very important for the mechanical property, and this is the one which enhances the mechanical property. And now we are going to see how this tetragonal zirconia increases the mechanical property. The XRD patterns of these zirconia cerium Fa samples are shown here with different compositions. You can see that the intensity of the zirconia, that is tetragonal zirconia phase, are different with different compositions. And this also confirms the substitution of the zirconium and cerium ions in the hydroxyapatite. When we calculate the crystallite size as well as the crystallinity, you can see that by Diffraction method, I have calculated the crystallinity as well as the crystalline size. It is some 37 nanometer and 13 nanometer. You can see that it confirms that a nanoparticle as such is formed. The lowering of the crystallinity is the one which also supports the biological property. Enhancement of the biological property as such is achieved when the crystallinity lowers. This is the FTIR of zirconia cerium fluorohydroxyapatite, which is similar to that of the synthetically prepared hydroxyapatite. Even if you substitute zirconia and cerium, you can see that some of the bands are shifted. Otherwise, all the other bands are similar to that of the fluorohydroxyapatite. The Tga analysis, when you see, you can see that from 600 degree onwards, no phase or observed. So it is very clear that after 600 degrees, the HA starts crystallizing. Otherwise, you can see that it is nothing but the weight loss is just due to the adsorbed water and a little bit of the nitrates. Only 5% of it and the nitrates are present, and this 5% of nitrate as well as together some 20% of water, if when it is eliminated, a pure HA crystals are formed. A similar pattern is obtained when we are doping it with zirconia as well as cerium. You can see the formation of this phase starts. We have already seen in the XRD pattern. You can see that the nucleation starts at this the 350 degrees to 450 degrees centigrade, and then slowly you can see that the endothermic peak, which is seen at 800 degrees also, which says the completion of this tetragonal phase formation. The FE shows the morphology of the particles. The particles are of 100 nanometer in size, and the elements which are present are calculated making use of this EDAX, and it is found that the calcium and the phosphorus, they are in the ratio of 1.6. That is, which is very similar to that of the ratio which is present in the bone. When we substitute it with zirconium and cerium, what happens to the particle size? You can see visibly the particle size is reduced and a nanoapatite is formed. And you can see that the EDAX is supporting that the presence of zirconia as well as cerium is there, and its composition says that it is similar to that of the bone, the composition which is present, that is C by A ratio is again 1.67. The surface morphology of the zirconia zirconia and cerium FH is studied after compaction and sintering. When we subject it to the FE you can see that the grains are formed. These are of two different morphology. You can see the platelets grains which are formed, and you can see small nanopores. This nanopores also helps for bone bonding, and the grain size has reduced to 100 to 140 nanometer, and you can see that a nano grains are also formed. These nano grains improve the mechanical strength, as well as these nano grains are the one which helps for the biological property to enhance. The mechanical property for a pure hydroxyapatite, when we see, it is only the fracture toughness is only 0.66, and its brittleness index, when we calculated it, it was 6.27, which is very high. And you can see that when it is substituted with co-substituted with zirconium and cerium ions, you can see that the fracture toughness has increased to 1.98, and it is similar to that of a femur bone. So this material can be a substitute for the femur bone. So the brittleness index, you can see it has lowered. It has lowered by 40%, and it is, you can see that it is only 3.9 as an index. How this is achieved in this particular combination of metal ion substitution? When you look into it, you can see that it is nothing but transformation toughening. What happens during this transformation toughening? At room temperature, the zirconia which is substituted in the FHA is in monoclinic phase, and while heating it to a temperature of 800 or 1000 degrees centigrade, then a tetragonal phase or a metastable stable phase forms. And while subsequently, when you cool it down, some of these tetragonal phase because it prevents expansion due to the rapid cooling. And this is the which resistance to the crack propagation. Fracture toughness is nothing but the resistance to the crack propagation. Once there is a resistance to the crack propagation, the mechanical strength or the load bringing property improves. So the transformation toughening is possible if suppose zirconia as well as cerium, when they are co-substituted in the bone substitute with FH. I told you that is in vitro apatite forming. Then this is the one which confirms the bone bonding ability. That is, an apatite can go and bond. If suppose if you consider a bone, natural bone, it is all integration between the tissue as well as the bone is present. Thereby, you can see the movement is possible. If suppose an implant is placed inside the body, then it requires such a bone bonding. That is, the tissue has to get bonded to that of the implant, thereby giving rise to a movement. So, if when an HA pellet, it is soaked in the stimulating body fluid. This is prepared by dissolving the appropriate amount of all these compounds in the deionized water, and it is maintained at a pH of 7.4, and the pellets are soaked for 14 days. Periodically, these solution is changed, and the pellet surface is analyzed for in vitro appetite forming ability. that is an apatite is nothing but a calcium phosphate has to form over this particular surface. When we just saw that EDAX of this particular position, you can see that it is nothing but the calcium and the phosphates which are. But you can see that a phosphate formation as such is taking place, but just look at this particular apatite formula. You can see before this surface and after it is soaked in the stating fluid for 4 days, you can see a layer of apatite coated. Or this is the pure hydroxyapatite. But when it substituted with zirconium and cerium, you can see a thick layer of apatite is coated. So this is the one which encourages the bonding, that is the in vitro apatite forming ability has improved, which confirms it. So the antibacterial activity, as I told you, the moment an implant is placed in the body, you can see that there is a rejection taking place due to the bacteria colony which is formed, and a biofilm will be formed over the implant material. If it doesn't possess antibacterial activity. A HA possesses an antibacterial activity, but you can see that there are two different microorganisms we have taken here. That is, one is E. coli, another is SRS. One for gram negative and another for gram positive, and we have subjected it to antibacterial activity. You can see that the inhibition zones are formed. The inhibition zones are somewhere near 22 to 25 mm. And the antibacterial activity here method used is other disc diffusion method. When it is analyzed for zirconium cerium substituted FHA, then you can see that the zone formed are about 37 mm. You can see that this here we have given only for E. coli. The same is achieved for SRS also. So an excellent antibacterial property is achieved because the particle is a nanoparticle, and this could able to penetrate inside the bacteria, and it can just leash out whatever is the problem and kill the bacteria. When you consider the biological property, the cell viability, it is tested for cell viability, making use of this MTT. So the medium, in this medium supplemented, that is DMM medium, it is supplemented along with 10% of bovine serum and 1% of penicillin and streptomycin. Along with it, medium is formed, and the pellets which we have formed as a synthetic material, that is substituted material, we are placing it inside. And each and every, it is placed in 96 well plate. And you can see that each and every well plate are seeded with 10 power 4 cells of human osteosarcoma cells, that is MG63. And now it is tested for non-toxicity. For the first day, as well as the second day, as well as the seventh day, a microplate reading as such is taken. When this is subjected to a spectrophotometer, the MTT which is formed, the viable cells, that is the live cells, what they do is they convert this MTT into formazole. So that when it is subjected to a microplate reader spectrophotometrically at 570 nanometer, you can see the absorbance. The maximum absorbance is due to the viable cells. Viable cells in the sense live cells. If the cells are dead, then it loses the capacity to convert this MTT into formazole. So the MTT, if it is not converted into formazole, the cell is dead. So you can see here how the live cells, this is nothing but an optical contrast microscope images of the cells after grown for 7 days. The same is obtained in the case of Zirconia cerium also. You can see the well viability for calculated for the first day, fourth day, as well as the seventh day, the ALP activity, that is the differentiation, as well as the calcium mineralization. When you consider the substituted, that is zirconia cerium substituted fluorohydroxyapatite, you can see this particular concentrations, you can see the growth of the cell viability. That is, more amount of cells keep growing from the first day to that of the seventh day. You can see that it increases. The comparison is just done between the first day as well as the seventh day. You can see that increases by 23%. And this is the one which confirms the biological property, and the mechanical property also increases, as well as the biological property also increases. Thereby, these two just says or substantiates that both the properties are enhanced in this bone substitute, and the zirconia cerium fluorohydroxyapatite can be used as a bone cement, or the powder can be used for bone injectable materials. Apart from these bone substitutes, hydroxyapatite also plays as a contrast agent. When you see the imaging modalities, nowadays the cancer or any other disease needs imaging, and the medical field relies on the computer tomography or MRI, or for better resolutions they go for PET as well as the SPECT. And these imaging modalities need a contrasting agent, because if suppose an imaging in case of the medical field, it is nothing but the density variation. If suppose the each and every organ has to be imaged, then each and every organ needs a density variation. But if suppose a blood vessel is inside an organ, then you cannot very clearly see what the difference between the organ as well as the blood vessel. So we need a contrast agent or a contrast medium to enhance the differences between the body tissues on the images. In the X-rays, the contrast agent's work is to enhance the radiodensity in a targeted tissue. And in MRI, contrast agent enhances the relaxation time of the nuclei within the body tissue in order to alter the contrast in the image. A more important point which is to be discussed is the contrast agent which are used to differentiate between should not have any adverse effect, should be friendly to the human body. So in this context, hydroxyapatite, when it is co-substituted with gadolinium or silver ions as well as gadolinium or European ions, you can see that they serve as a best contrast agent. And you can see that this gadolinium as well as the silver, when they are co-substituted, they are bimodal agent. That is, either they can be used in X-rays, that is computer tomography also, and they can be used in MRI also. You can see the contrast images which are published. You can see that this is the CT scan. This is the image taken by CT scan, and you can see that that is the substitution along with the silver as well as gadolinium in hydroxyapatite. It gives a very good contrast. The images. This is nothing but distilled water, and you can see here these are a very you know and here in this particular case, this is an MR. You can see when gadolinium alone is substituted or silver ions alone are substituted, this gives a very less resolution. When you go for the gadolinium as well as silver ions, you can see that there is a very good contrast, and this is the proof that hydroxyapatite along with co-substitution, that is gadolinium and silver, could able to make out as a very good contrast agent. And now to the conclusion, co-substitution in apatites is an emerging area of the biomedical field, and it meets the increasing demand for the suitable applications. And Solder process showed a pure phase and confirmed the structural stability and the homogeneity. And this co-substitution significantly decreased the crystallinity as well as crystalline size. So co-substitution has a wide range of applications. These are some of the publications which are being published, and thank you.
Thank you so much, madam, for delivering a wonderful and informative session. It's time for QA session. Dr. G.R. Subhashri, Associate Professor, Department of Physics, will be asking few questions.
Thank you, ma'am, for the detailed presentation on biocompatibility of its in biomedical field. Without question, we put a request to kindly answer few queries raised by our participants. The first question, bioceramics, although good bone regeneration ability in vitro, why still not used in humans? Why are they still the metallic implants?
When you go for the mechanical property is the problem. Mechanical property, the improvement of the mechanical property is certainly can help the bioceramic materials to be used in human beings. And you can see that even if a metal is used, they are coated with such materials. That is, the bioceramic material is coated. Even if suppose if you are going to use a titanium implant, the bioceramic, without coating it with a bioceramic material, that is hydroxyapatite, it is not used. And even if you are going for a polymer material, or even you can see the ocular implants also, they are coated with hydroxyapatite. And you can say that the increase in the usage of hydroxyapatite has come into the medical field, and it is now utilized as a bone cement.
Ceramics compared to other implants are brittle. Can you justify the ceramic implant usage in this contrast? Are there using the ceramic materials?
Can you repeat the question? It is breaking.
Ceramics, other implants are brittle in nature. So can you justify the ceramic implant usage in this contrast? Are there any disadvantages
So
for
that is why
materials?
that is what I told. The mechanical property is the one which has to be modified, and slowly the research is into the modification of the mechanical property. So the brittle nature is the one which has to be addressed. That if suppose that is eliminated or that is enhanced or improved, then ceramic materials is the one which is going to play a major role. You can say that the head of uh, the knee implant, they are all coated with the hydroxyapatite only. And you can say that any metal implant which are used, they are coated with the hydroxyapatite. And in case of the injectable metal implant, that is injectable material, that is we can inject it. If suppose the dysfunction is very less in magnitude, then this hydroxyapatite directly can be injected in that particular place. I showed a video also of that, so that it gets hardened and it becomes an actual bone itself. And the patient's age also is the one which has to be considered. And if suppose if it is an younger age, then this bioceramic materials are used in.
Thank you, ma'am. All participants of this webinar have shown a overwhelming response for this informative session. Thank you again, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am, for answering all questions. Our live YouTube streaming is being overwhelmed with the audiences. On behalf of Dr. M.G.R. Educational and Research Institute Phase 2 campus, thank you once again for accepting our invitation. I now call upon Dr. Kavita, Professor, Department of Physics, to deliver vote of thanks.
Good evening to one and all present here. It's immense pleasure for me to deliver the vote of thanks for the national webinar on ceramic materials in biomedical field, a prospective view. I would like to thank our Honorable President, Engineer A.C.S. Arun Kumar, for accepting our request to conduct this webinar in a grand manner. I would like to thank our Joint Registrar, Dr. S. Ramalingam, Dean, Dr. S. Manivannan, Deputy Dean, Dr. V.N. Rajavarman, for being the pillar of support. My heartfelt thanks to the department head, Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, for his constant encouragement and support. I extend my thanks to our organizing team, Dr. S. Chalamal, Dr. Divya, Mrs. J.B. Chusitra, Dr. Rajia Subhashri, Mrs. Akshaya, Mr. Ganesh Babu, and Dr. Harshini for their support. I wholeheartedly thank our resource person, Dr. Vijayalakshmi Sanyal, for accepting our invitation in her busy schedule and also providing wonderful presentation, which is highly inspirative and informative to all the participants. I hope they all benefited by enriching their knowledge in this field. I would like to thank all the faculty members and the participants for attending this webinar and making it a grand success. I request all the participants to keep supporting us for the future upcoming programs. Stay home, stay safe, and stay healthy. Thank you once again.
Thank you, madam. In this happy moment, we would like to display the appreciation certificate for Chief Guest. Ms. R. Akshaya, Assistant Professor, Department of English, request to display appreciation certificate. The feedback assessment form is available in the YouTube description box. You are requested to complete and submit the form before today 7 p.m. Later, the form will be deactivated. The e-certificate for participation will be sent to registered email within 4 days. The feedback assessment form is available in the YouTube description box. You are requested to complete and submit the form before today 7 p.m. Later, the form will be deactivated. The e-certificate for participation will be sent to registered email within 4 days. This video will be ever available in our YouTube channel. Participants can view at any moment. We have come to an end of the program. Hope everyone has gained knowledge. With the satisfaction of presenting good webinar, we wish to sign off and meet you in the next program. Don't forget to submit your feedback form and subscribe our YouTube channel, Dr. M.G.R. University Phase 2 Digital Learning for further updates about our program and videos. Stay home, stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.